All, and thank you for coming out to tonight's meeting of the Peoria Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm going to take roll call. Commissioner Nancy Golden.
Present.
Commissioner Leonard Spriker is not here tonight. Commissioner Greg Loper.
Here.
Commissioner Sean Hutchinson.
Here.
Commissioner Bill Lewis is not here tonight. Commissioner Jay Otlowski is not here tonight. Commissioner Jeff Nelson.
Present.
And I'm Commissioner Lee Strickman. Since we do not have anybody from the public out in our audience tonight, I'm going to dispense with reading the opening statement. That's a whole lot of pages. Well, there's a final call to submit speaker request forms, but there's nobody out there to speak. So I'm going to go to the consent agenda. The consent agenda tonight is for two items that are routine in nature. 1C is disposition of absence, discussion and possible action to approve, excuse the absences of Commissioners Nancy Golden, Greg Loper, and Bill Lewis at the August 6th meeting. And 2C is the minutes, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on August 6th, 2015. Do any commissioners have any questions and/or comments? Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Okay, I'm not. Okay, that passes. We now move on to new business. The first agenda item is 3R, public hearing regarding conditional use permit, T-Mobile at Peoria Medical Center, CU 15-0017. Staff, please present your report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. As mentioned, the item before you is a conditional use permit for T-Mobile at Peoria Medical Center. For a moment of clarification, the item number is CU 15-0007. There's a typo on your agenda, so please note. The project location is south of the southwest corner of 91st and Olive Avenues. The project request is for a conditional use permit to allow a wireless communication facility in the form of a 65-foot tall monopalm with associated ground equipment. The size of the entire parcel on which this is located is approximately 1.76 acres, and the equipment enclosure for the wireless facility is approximately 11 by 13 feet. As you can see on the map, this is a very small site in relation to the larger commercial developments in this vicinity. More specifically, you can see at the northwest corner of the intersection there is a Quick Trip gas station and convenience store, a Chevron gas station and convenience store at the northeast corner, the large Fry's commercial shopping center, which includes McDonald's as well as multi-tenant retail and commercial uses. And directly adjacent and on the parcel that is being proposed for this use is the Peoria Medical Center, which includes various medical offices as well as restaurant uses. To the north of this site is an existing monopalm. Directly south is the Service King Collision Repair Facility, again, other commercial and all non-residential uses in the immediate vicinity. The project site shown on the site plan provides a little context for the area. Already in place on the site are 6 live palm trees. As noted, to the north of the existing building, there is a existing monopalm. So the addition of this monopalm will essentially frame the site. It will balance and fit into the context of the area. The north elevation is shown, and this would be particularly what you might see. It's actually, I believe, the east elevation that you would see from the street. The photo simulation you'll see here will show you how well this particular monopalm will fit into the area. So this is the before, this is after. So as you can see, given the context of the area, we're talking about a commercial facility that already has existing live palm trees as well as the monopalm. To continue the theme, this was the most appropriate design for the wireless communication facility to allow it to blend into the area and provide wireless services appropriately. As a reminder, the wireless communication regulations are a little different than some of our other projects that we would review. Due to the Telecommunications Act of 1996, there are limitations on local regulatory authority. The city cannot regulate this use in the way that we may regulate other land uses. The zoning ordinance does provide criteria for regulating, including height, building setbacks, parking, signage, etc. In addition, the conditional use permit review criteria are mentioned here in brief. They include location and development standard provisions, the consistency with the goals, policies, intent of the general plan, consistency with other department reviewing recommendations, compliance with city codes as applicable, and that it is not materially detrimental to health, safety, and welfare. That would be the general overview. Essentially, within this, as long as the facility meets these regulations, it is something that has to be approved. So we have purview on some of the scope, scale, factors of the design. However, in general, the wireless communication facilities are a permissible or permitted use as long as they fit within that confine. In terms of the staff analysis and key findings, we found that the proposed wireless facility does meet all CUP criteria. It is consistent with the intent of the ordinance. It does minimize the visual impact of the facility based on its concealed camouflaged appearance and the use of complementary colors and textures of the enclosed walls, which will be consistent with the existing site and the trash enclosure that's immediately adjacent on the site already. The proposal doesn't result in any detrimental impacts to the surrounding neighborhood. As indicated, it is a commercial area with all non-residential uses in the immediate adjacency. As a result, staff's recommendation is that the Commission approve case CU 15-0007, subject to the conditions as stated in the staff report. And with that, I take any questions you may have.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Nancy Golden?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you for including the regulations on wireless. I think it's good for us to be reminded of them occasionally because I think we get confused. And secondly, I like this project because I like the fact, I think these are the kind of places we should have wireless. I mean, we should have these towers. On the freeway, the site's horrible anyway. I think it's the perfect thing. But the only question I have is, I thought when we were, do you remember the tower that was put in the church on 107th? Wasn't there? I thought there was some issue about it being too close to another tower.
Commissioner Golden, there are regulations which require separation without a conditional use permit. So for a cell tower to be permitted by right, there are certain separation requirements. The conditional use permit is something, and the concealment do allow us flexibility to find appropriate locations where it may be, in fact, better or more appropriate to have them located in close proximity. So that is a factor in some of our decisions. However, in this situation, it is permissible.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. That's all.
Commissioner Nelson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a little troubled by having two monopalms so close together. Co-locating. Can you talk a little bit about why they weren't able to co-locate on an existing monopalm?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Nelson, monopalms in particular are rather tricky for co-location. Some of the issues tend to be the camouflage tends to dissipate when multiple carriers are located and you have a second set of arrays. It makes it much harder to hide that second set of arrays. In this vicinity, the only other verticalities that would be available would be that monopalm, and across the street to the northeast there is I believe it was a flagpole converted to a monopalm. That site also same difficulties. So unless we have a tower that is non-concealed or a larger facility such as a bell tower or other element that can hide the second set of arrays, it's generally not considered appropriate.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
Thank you for that answer. I appreciate it. The other question I had is the location of the unit itself. It seems to be right in the middle of a parking lot in front of a business. Why wasn't it set back further? Was there a reason for that? Was that a recommendation from staff? Or
Commissioner Nelson, and actually in this case, I perhaps should have detailed it a little bit more. The actual facility is located in this region. It was originally thought to place it farther back on the site. However, due to several easements already in place, it had to be pushed slightly forward. And in terms of the proximity, so right now there is an existing trash enclosure that would be directly to the west or closer to the freeway. Then you would have the equipment enclosure for the monopalm. The monopalm would be placed in a landscape island that would also include shrubs and a live tree, and then you would have the parking spaces. So it's as far to the back of the site as possible without hitting any of the existing easements.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Are there any other questions of staff? Is the applicant, I have opened the public hearing. Is the applicant present? Do you wish to speak? Yes, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Declan Murphy, representing T-Mobile. The address is 1525 North Hayden Road, Scottsdale, Arizona. Madam Chairman, members of the Commission, I really don't have a whole lot to add to staff's presentation, other than to address Commissioner Nelson's question on co-location and monopalms. There's very little in the way of camouflage sites that we have available to us here. We have cactuses, palm trees, and pine trees for the most part. And, I would think most would agree that the steel monopole is probably not the best option. So, with that, you're left with the alternatives. I think for the most part, though, and there are some examples of co-locations on monopalms, and if you've ever seen one, it really doesn't look very good, and it really draws attention to the antennas, and it defeats the whole purpose. It doesn't really look like a palm anymore. But I think for the most part, the general public, when they drive by these monopalms, they might see a strange or an odd-looking palm tree, but they don't really notice them, on a daily basis. Of course, there's no hiding a structure this tall. If you look at, you'll see the antennas, and you'll see that it's obviously not a live palm. But I think they do serve the purpose insofar as that a lot, the majority of people going about their daily business or just driving on the freeway, whatever, they don't really notice. They might notice an odd palm tree, but I mean, they do serve the purpose insofar as that it does tend to camouflage them to a certain degree. And when you come along and you put antennas below the pineapple, then they really become very noticeable. And I haven't seen one that actually you could point to and say that was tastefully done, if you like. So just to address that concern, because that's really a lot of municipalities like palm trees, but the challenge is that you're not approving sites that are multi-carrier sites, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. You end up with more monopalms, and let's say if these were monopoles, you could get 2, 3, 4 carriers on a monopole, but aesthetically they're not as pleasing as the palm trees. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Are you in agreement with staff recommendations?
Yes, Madam Chairman.
Do any commissioners have any questions and/or comments of the applicant? Okay.
Thank you for your time.
I am now closing the public hearing. Thank you. Any comments from the commissioners before we vote? Do I have a motion? Commissioner Loper.
Madam Chair, real quick, I do want to point out I saw a faux windmill down in Casa Grande that I thought was kind of cool for a stealth cell tower. With that said, I would move for approval of CU 15-0007, had to say that, subject to the stipulations outlined in the staff report.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hutchinson, thank you. Please vote. Okay, that passes. Well, any comments from the public on non-agenda items? Don't think so. Seeing there are no comments on non-agenda items, we're going to move on to reports from staff. Does staff have anything to report?
Madam Chair, just an update on our next meeting. There will not be a meeting on September 3rd. Our next meeting will be September 17th. We do have an agenda for that meeting, so we'll see you all in about a month. So,
Thank you. Are there any reports from the Planning and Zoning Commission? Do any commissioners have anything to report or state? Seeing no further business, I call this meeting adjourned.